In carnage, I bloom like a flower in the dawn.
Psychopath. The word often used to insult an egocentric, criminal, and heartless individual. This exact word is utilized to describe Jhin from League of Legends. To quote the lore, a meticulous criminal psychopath who believes murder is art. But this word isn't simply an insult. It has clinical significance, and in this video, we will see just how accurately this applies to Jhin.
Our performance begins.
Medical literature finds that people who truly fit the label consistently have deficient emotional responses and poor behavior control. However, this description is unhelpful, seeing as many other psychological conditions present in this generalized manner. So we'll need to dig a little further.
Which is the lie? The mask on my face?
We look to the pioneer of modern psychopathy research, Dr. Hervey Cleckley, who viewed this disorder as the mask of sanity, which is not only the title of his breakthrough book, but also a picture-perfect representation of Jhin, the masked virtuoso.
Only to the audience do I show my true face.
This quote explains an important aspect of psychopathy. Outward appearances in the general public are normal. On the surface, you can't tell that someone is a psychopath because they seem perfectly fine, as if they are masking insanity with sanity.
They call me mad. All artists are mad.
The lore describes very little of Jin's normal outward disposition. Once a captured prisoner, the monks guarding him noted that he was, quote, a bright student who excelled in many subjects, including smithing, poetry, and dance. Contrary to popular belief, studies find that psychopathic intelligence is the same, if not lower, than the intelligence of the average person. Jhin, on the other hand, just so happens to fit the stereotype of the criminal mastermind by having well above average intelligence, which does not make him representative of the average psychopath. However, what he does share with psychopaths is his twisted worldview. Jhin has no qualms about grotesque murder, no fear of consequence, and not an ounce of regret. From his purposefully relaxed walk to the performative use of his gun, Jin's unapologetic passion is artistically woven into his haunting theatrics. The more horrifying, the better.
My genius will be understood eventually.
His abilities only add to the madness. We don't need to overcomplicate the details here, but just take a look at the names and roughly what they do. Dancing Grenade, a high damage ability. Deadly Flourish and Captive Audience, two devious trapping tools. And Curtain Call, a bloody finishing ability. The clips you are seeing showcase Jhin using the battlefield to his advantage with carefully laid traps, quick movement, and a long-range execution playstyle to stay safe and keep the show going. It goes without saying that the feel of playing Jhin is unbelievably immersive, accurate, and importantly balanced, making Jhin one of the most loved champions in all of League of Legends. Keep in mind that as of this video, there are 161 champions to play, so this isn't a statement to be taken lightly.
An icon doesn't have to explain himself.
Now let's get into the scientific details. So far, it seems that our description of psychopaths make it appear as though they are fundamentally different from the average person. It may even be of no surprise to you that psychopaths have fundamentally different brains. They have reduced connections between the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. The former is responsible for sentiments such as empathy and guilt, while the latter mediates fear and anxiety. Thus, a compromise in these connections can and will compromise a person's ability to act and react in an emotionally appropriate manner. Surely this helps to explain why he enjoys his work so much.
I live for the applause. You will die for it.
Also, how does one become a psychopath? To start, psychopathy is a severe variant of ASPD, which is antisocial personality disorder. which pertains to behaviors that express a disregard for the welfare of those around them. The cause is both genetic and environmental. However, the latter seems to dominate, as ASPD is most often seen in children of impoverished and broken families, who often feel neglected and thus seek acceptance through alternative means. This usually includes engaging in delinquent behavior stemming from isolation, loneliness, and repressed emotional trauma. What may start as fights between peers may escalate to stealing and vandalism. As kids grow older, they start seeking drugs, gang activity, and a whole host of other criminal ventures that may entail a more horrifying twist.
Art requires a certain cruelty.
Jhin's lore only alludes to a fraction of such circumstances. After his release from prison, a few patrons took keen interest in his murderous performances and began supporting him with the latest weapons and a generous financial compensation. Thus, he gained acceptance from a number of malicious companions who are all mystified by the grandeur of his artwork.
I provide catharsis for my clients and my victims.
I want to stress this really important fact. Psychopathy is a poorly researched disorder. Many people with this disorder are immediately labeled as deranged, incurable, and disposable. After all, why feel remorse for someone who'd brutally harm you without feeling a thing? These people often end up in prison, with no other option in sight. Sure, some forms of medication and therapy may help, but the data isn't optimistic. It appears that a top-down solution to address the environmental risk factors of impoverished and broken homes would help, but we have a long way of getting there.
You think you can stop my performance?
But what could you do for someone like Jhin? Though his upbringing is largely a mystery, he appears to have done well for himself. It doesn't seem as though his environment forced him in hard times, thus we could infer that he simply thrives in the madness. A man like him wouldn't seek treatment, he'd seek pleasure. A different kind of pleasure.
I want to feel everything. The gun makes it so I do.
It takes an extreme stimulus for Jhin to feel any sense of reward. So he designs clever traps, performs expressive theatrics, and creates violent explosions using people's lives as his canvas. Each person in his play awaiting a horrifying and heartless death, their blood being the essence that gives meaning to his poetry. This is Jhin, a vicious, bloodthirsty psychopath.
I have risen from the filth and muck. I am the lotus blossom. I am beauty.
Thanks for making it to the end. We love making these videos and are looking forward to making more content connecting all things games and health. If that interests you, consider supporting Digital.Games by liking and sharing this video and subscribing to the channel. Also, we are happy to take suggestions for future content, so please drop some in the comment section below. Thanks, and see you next time.